Let's play Burlington's Guess That Price. Back to school means back to saving. We're bringing you kids' jeans starting at, hold on a minute, just $11.99. Burlington's acing this test. What about character backpacks? We've got them starting at $12.99. Burlington's done it again. How about sneakers for the kids? A-plus brands and right on trend starting at $11.99. Saving is now in session. Burlington, deals, brands, wow! Styles and selections vary by location.
Prime delivery is fast. How fast are we talking? We're talking puzzle toys and lick pad delivered so fast you can get this puppy under control fast. Pee pads, cooling mat, peg hammer, fast and fast. And those training TREATS, faster than you can say sit fast. Fast, free delivery. It's on Prime.
Hey nerds, welcome to The Paper Fold. I am your host, Sarah, the Paper Nerd, and I'm so glad to be back nerding out with you on my favorite topic, stationery. Today, it's my pleasure to host a creative in our space, but unlike most of our guests, she does not have a stationery or even a gift range. Like me, Victoria Kirst is the founding editor of a stationery publication, but in her case, a zine called Pouch. If, like me, you hadn't really seen zines since the 90s, prepare to be dazzled. This publication focuses on junk journaling. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, open Instagram or TikTok and search junk journaling. This is the most consumer excitement I've seen over stationery since I started covering the category as a market editor in 1997. People are nerding out in a big way for elements like rubber stamps, washi, and yes, journals and pens and sticky notes and even greeting cards too. I got a tiny taste of this fervor at Chicago Stationery Fest last spring, and I just had to learn more. I am so grateful to Deborah Skinner, who has contributed a few fabulous articles on The Paper Nerd, for putting Pouch on my radar screen. But before we get to my guest in Brooklyn, I need to discuss my very special sponsor, Avanti Press, and Detroit. As you probably know, this All-American House of Cards is hosting this fall's Greeting Card Association Card Conference in Motor City. Join the community for letterpress workshops, river cruises, walking tours, industry experts, local creatives, and more. In addition to Rifle Paper CEO Anna Bond, speakers include Ford futurist Jen Brace, Detroit entrepreneur Alexandra Clark, founder of Bun Bun Chocolates, Jim Benton, cartoonist and author of Dear Dumb Diary, Susan Yashinsky of Sphere Trading, a Detroit firm that does seasonal forecasting for Walmart, Home Depot, and many more, retail architect expert Ken Nish from Future Brands to discuss the psychology of shopping spaces, and Bill Morrison, illustrator for The Simpsons, Futurama, and the last editor of Mad Magazine. It promises to be an inspiring, heady good time, and I hope to see you there. Register already and grab your special rate at the Weston Book Cadillac Hotel by visiting greetingcard.org, then click on events, then Greeting Card Conference. Now, stay tuned for Victoria and Pouch right after this. Hey nerds, it has been a hot minute since I filled you in on all things new with that fantastic and fantastical LA-based brand Girl with Knife. After all, this cutting-edge California house of design has trailblazed its way through paper goods, home decor, and yes, even house design since the incredible creative powerhouse Alicia Castaldi founded it in 2018. You'd be blind not to note the innate glamour of every last larger-than-life Girl with Knife creation, but beneath each one, there also lies an honesty and simplicity that comprises its true design strength. That distinctive quality is typically born on a Girl with Knife greeting card, carefully brought to life slice by slice with Alicia's trusty X-Acto blade. Now, greeting cards themselves are a deceptively simple product category. A card can bridge both physical and emotional distances. They can share messages we don't know quite how to articulate on the phone or in real life, and these messages endure forever. Alicia understands this distinctive magic, and it's evident in spades in her 19 newest card releases. I just reviewed them while editing the summer issue of Stationery Trends, and they legitimately knocked my socks off. Spanning occasions from every day to the holidays, they are so good. I want you to be captivated by them for yourself, so I'll just dish on a few faves. We Are So Connected depicts a white charm bracelet on a black background, but somehow it effortlessly reflects and enhances our closest relationships. Like most of Alicia's work, the design is informed by a fabulous backstory, echoing both how she and her close friends speak to each other, as well as their respective artistry. Believe it or not, one makes charm jewelry that all the others wear. This card's personal origins really make it resonate, just like Girl with Knife's hot off the press Father's Day card, a reflection of Alicia's own eternal adoration for her late father and what she describes as his outlaw spirit, of course. Presented on a sleek black backdrop with white lettering, the copy starts out, "My father, my hero," and rest assured, it will be in the hands of some of the most appreciated fathers this year. Perhaps yours? This card is a forever keeper, and there are 17 other equally mesmerizing card releases, each a mini masterpiece showcasing fresh finesse from this Louis Award-winning Artist of the Year. Meanwhile, design elements find their way from greeting cards onto other Girl with Knife creations. Maybe it'll be a new ultra-thick gift wrap, or perhaps a Luke's candle that incorporates fabulous scents into the design mix. And that, my paper nerd friends, is why Girl with Knife is your BFF in paper goods and home decor. So head on over to girlwithknife, all spelled out, .com and immerse yourself. I just know your spirit will be elevated. Meanwhile, if you are in the trade, shop this top shop brand sensation exclusively on Faire 24/7. I guarantee your stationery, as well as your living and workspaces, will slay. Victoria, welcome to the Paper Fold.
Oh my gosh, it's so good to be here. Great to meet you. And I'm so excited to talk to you all about stationery.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine. So I love both zines and stationery. So of course I am beyond obsessed with Pouch. So my first question is, in addition to being the founding editor and editor-in-chief of Pouch, you're a software engineer. And
That's right.
So, yeah, which is amazing. So my first question to you is, what is it about the myriad digital tools available to you that doesn't quite land? And how does stationery scratch that itch?
Well, yeah. So first of all, I love this question. I love talking about like the differences between digital and analog and the pros and cons of each, because I think that's true. Like it's not that one is superior to another. I certainly do not think that, software has replaced paper, or I don't think it's the other way around. I think it's, yeah, exactly. So real surprise to this audience that paper is actually alive and thriving. But yeah, I think there are areas in particular where I think digital tools shine, and I think areas where analog tools shine. So to talk about digital tools for a second, I think digital tools are great at being fast and efficient. So even right now, Sarah, you and I are talking through the internet, we're talking through a website, and I guess the act of setting up this conversation by using software, by using technology, it meant the things that we wanted to do quickly, such as set up this call, ended up being quickly. Imagine if we had to do this offline, I would have had to go fly to you. It would have been expensive. It would take a lot more time. So this is an area where I think technology is really helping us speed up the parts that we want sped up. And so we can linger on the parts that we want to linger on, which is this conversation.
Oh, I love that.
In addition, yeah. And on the other hand, there are parts of my life I do not want more efficient. I don't want to be my weekend. Let's just check my weekend off the box. Let's just have my weekend fly by as quickly as possible. Spending time with loved ones. Let me, again, check that off the to-do list. Of course not. Of course not. Those are the moments we want to feel long. We want to go slow. And I think that's where stationery and paper really shines. When you're journaling, you can journal for so many reasons. I'm sure we'll get into those
yes.
throughout the conversation. But you might be documenting your memories, reliving a trip. You might be getting in touch with your feelings, trying to work through something. Those are the moments where you want to slow down, where you want to savor the moment. And I think analog in those moments really shine because the nature of analog tools being more slow, being more physical, more intentional, that makes sense for what you're trying to achieve in that moment.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah. And, I love the idea that the digital world is to provide us a certain seamlessness. The idea is to provide a certain seamlessness so that we can put our attention in the areas that are more deserving of our attention and where we want to live our lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey nerds, time for a Paper Baristas update. If you are somehow not acquainted with its dynamic founder, Kirst Asper, my special guest on episode 56, this preeminent paper nerd is not just the founding sponsor, but the inspiration too for my Nerd Notes segment. This all-American house of stationery brews paper goods to do good with an eco-conscious, fair trade business model and philosophy that drastically differs from that of pretty much every other stationery and gift brand I've encountered. While many of you know that every last Paper Baristas offering has literally been upcycled from what would otherwise be thrown out, that's only part of the story here. Since its founding in 2019, 10% of all its profits have been donated to the International Justice Mission to fight human trafficking. A few months back, I shared that Paper Baristas had donated over $30,000 to fight modern slavery. That number has only grown since then. I cannot even imagine how many more people's stories were quietly changed for the better forever from this brand's efforts. Meanwhile, another important element of this brand's philosophy is that fair trade and eco-friendly products should be available and accessible on every last store shelf. So while Paper Baristas recycled, biodegradable, handmade, and wood-free paper feels incredibly luxurious and unlike most papers you encounter, it's actually affordable too. Shopping this vibrant brand is such an easy, uplifting way to honor our planet and those who need help most. With that said, it's not too surprising that this family-owned brand was a 4-time finalist in this year's Louie Awards. Like the Grammys for music or the Academy Awards for film, this program has honored the best cards for over 30 years. And every year, this competition gets more competitive. At the gala last month, Paper Baristas didn't just win 3 of the 4 Louie Awards it was nominated for. Kirst herself also won the Latinx Maker of Note Award, an enormous honor. It recognizes makers from underrepresented communities who are shaping the greeting card industry, but it's not just recognizing their artistry, but their entire approach to the category. Clearly, it was well-deserved. Congratulations again, Kirst. So it's official. Paper Baristas has struck a most resonant chord with paper nerd judges across the nation, underlining the vital importance of the brand's ethos to put people and the planet before profits. Every product blends recycled and upcycled elements. The thick handmade paper is created using pollution-free methods such as sheets that are sun-dried, conserving energy usage, and it's chemical-free, protecting our waterways. Thus, it is no exaggeration to say that every last Paper Baristas offering is a labor of planetary love. Every card is available folded or flat with deckled edges. There are endless undated planners, notebooks, and journals from which to choose. They recently introduced an incredible plantable collection, and every last home good is a thoughtful heirloom in the making. So, if you are a paper nerd in the wild, start your caffeinated stationery journey at paperbaristas.com. And if you're in the trade, hit its fair top shop to get a gander at their new seated gift bags, tea towels, and Swedish dishcloths, as well as their incredible paper sheets at wholesale, just in time for the junk journaling trend. However you bring this brand into your life, be sure to tell Kirst that Sarah sent you.
Quite frankly, a lot of my software engineer friends will ask me, kind of point blank, Victoria, aren't you bored of paper yet? So what else I'll say to my software engineer friends, what I'll say to you is like, literally as a technology, paper keeps breaking my brain. Like it keeps challenging me as a technologist. Like even just thinking of like washi tape, like I have this tape sitting on my desk. And when you analyze it from the traditional metrics you would do from an engineering perspective, like how well does the tape work? How well does it adhere? Any washi tape lover will tell you, like, it's not always a great tape. You don't want to like.
That's not the point.
Yes, exactly, and it's not the point. And like, so when I say it, like, challenges me, it's like, well, if I had thought about this from like sort of the software engineering approach of like, you need to tape things. glue things together, how does it adhere? It needs to be seamless. It needs to be out of the, like, it should be transparent. How do we get it as transparent as possible? The existence of washi tape, the fact that, again, you in fact are, not only doesn't adhere well, but you don't use it for its adhesive purposes. The fact that I can just hold this and it makes me happy. It makes me challenge, like, what sort of metrics should we be using as engineers when we're creating things? Like, the fact that this makes me happy, I think, should be a metric that we're evaluating. And so that's why stationery really inspires me, by being able to combine sort of the utility of doing things, like whether it's, connecting with friends via letters or reflecting on your, memories. There's a utility and a function to it, but also such an emotion, a connection, expression that comes inherent to the form that I find very, very interesting.
Totally. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a decorative element to it as well, and that can go in so many directions. And it tends to be where a lot of the sort of, like, I don't know, emotional heavy lifting comes in. Like, you start getting, like, very sentimentally attached to something because you see that verbiage every day, and it, on your Post-it notes, and it just starts off your day, on a great note. It's something, there's something just that is not, that's not a criteria that engineers usually use, as like, how happy does it make me?
Right.
Yes,
no, it's
apparently.
I'm like, the fact that I will find excuses to use washi tape is just like, again, I could go even deeper into these things of just like, okay, one more story about my engineer brain. Yes.
Okay, let's hear it.
So journaling for years, but I had not typically drawn in my journal. The reason why is because I was like, it's really hard. I don't know. I'd rather take a photo and print a photo and put the photo in rather than try to draw it. Like, love looking at other people's journals where they draw these beautiful pictures of cafes, whatever. That's not me. I'm not an urban sketcher. My journal friends were all like, Victoria, try it. You're going to remember the moment better. That's what they promised me. So this year, for the first time ever, I have a doodle journal.
Yay!
And once again, yes, and you're not gonna be surprised. Once again, paper has broken my brain. Pens have broken my brain because my journaling friends were all correct. And I remember the moment better by spending 3 minutes doodling a scene from my memory of a night, like my husband and I were at a bar in Brooklyn the other day. And it's like, just a small little sketch of that moment immerses me better than a photo, better than, again, in a past life, I actually worked in VR, literally worked on a VR renderer, and like, did a lot of math to like build a device to like put in your face to very literally try to immerse you in a digital experience.
Wow.
So many months of work, so much money. And I look at my pen drawing and I'm like, legitimately from a technology perspective, I'm like, the pen works better. This drawing works better. Like, again, to me, as a technologist, it just keeps breaking my brain, challenging my assumptions of like, wait a minute, we should be considering analog as a serious tool, like as a legit technology that can solve problems, real problems in a meaningful way, and not always assume that the digital solution is superior just because it is more sophisticated.
Sure. Well, you're preaching to the choir here.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, I like too how in journaling, it's a little, you're like pushing yourself and accepting parts of yourself that maybe it's like, oh, I can't draw. Well, maybe you can. And maybe there's a connection between your brain and your hand that you cannot get by even using like one of these pocket photo printers or, what have you. It's a way of experiencing things and remembering. And of course, and then when you look at it, you have a different sort of memory than had you taken a photo. I love it. I love that you're constantly challenging yourself. We'll get into pouch in a minute because
yes,
there's a lot there. But I want to ask you too, what are your stationery must-haves and why in your daily life? I mean, clearly washi.
Yes.
what elements do you consider inferior and unacceptable? So like, what are you looking for? What are your must-haves? Like, what makes it a good product?
Yeah, yes. All, once again, oh my goodness, I could talk at length on all of these things. But I'll say, okay, so maybe I'll talk first super specific and then more general. So like essentials for me are pen and paper, of course, in terms of the tools. And then in terms of that, it's like I'm actually very open-minded to paper. I love trying like all sorts of different paper. There's benefits of like really thin paper. There's benefits of thick paper. There's benefits of different textures. The pen wise, though, I'm a little bit more particular. I'm actually not a fountain pen person. Not that I have anything particularly against it. I just, if anything is intimidating, I'm like, oh, there's a lot going on.
It is.
Yes.
I'm a lefty, so fountain pens are kind of like extra intimidating to me.
Yes. So, Exactly.
That's fine. I like a good gel. I like a good roller ball. I just like something that feels smooth in my hand.
Exactly. I like something like, this. I apparently I like yellow. I like yellow color. Something like colorful, and something that feels smooth, something that doesn't smear, I think is important. I like even that, like I was about to say I like a dark black ink, but I also, that's always in rotation. Sometimes, let's see, I've had a few friends, including someone in Pouch. They were saying that I think it's a Pilot Friction pens, the erasable ink pens. Those have a more like watery gray ink, and they're like, that's actually really like compelling. It sort of sits more in the background compared to my other elements, and so I'm like, oh, maybe I should try, gray.
Wow. So I love that as people are, experimenting with different effects and different types of junk journals, you're really looking at the different elements of everything, the different weight, a pen weight, washi weight,
Right.
You consider them in a way, I know I said this before we started recording, but like in a way that typically it's only people in the trade and those conversations are more like, how is this going to land? As opposed to everyone's noticing the artistic qualities, but we don't want to nerd out on that. Like, it's a commodity. We need to sell it. So.
Right.
But I love that I'm seeing people like considering it as much as we are. Like, it's so rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, in fact, a lot of the appeal of analog tools is like being able to really curate your set of tooling, right? Like, so especially if you're a stationery nerd, right? Like paper nerd, you're going to want to, like, for instance, a piece of advice I'd give even to beginner journalers is try different pen weights, or try different pen thicknesses. I have like a recommendation for, I think it's on my desk. Yeah. So this Tombow Play Color 2 is like a marker actually, but it doesn't bleed. So it ends up being what's essentially like a thick pen, great for headings. So I think even just adding the element of different pen widths of like, use this one for headings and this one for, your regular text. It's sort of like, again, document editing, where you have your heading in your document is going to be a bigger font and bolder. Your text is going to be, so you like in the digital space, you might do that for a Google document. In the same way, you may want that optionality in your analog journal. And so, like the pens offering all these different functionalities gives you an ability to really curate your set of tools to express yourself on page the way that you really want to.
I love it. I mean, when I listen to people talk about junk journals, what always jumps out to me is we've all grown up or a lot of younger people, we've grown up in such a visual world. Now you have the tools to make your own magazine layouts. I edit a publication and I love making pages. You edit a publication, you love making pages, but it's very powerful to me that the consumers they're making their own little worlds. And to me, it's a very powerful sort of creative movement that I just love seeing the endless iterations of. Like, it's fascinating to me that there's no right or wrong. Scrapbooking, was very like, you need this and you need that, and it has to look like this. This is much more like
free. Yes.
We'll be right back after this.
Lowe's knows that no matter your paint project, saving is at the top of your list. That's why when you shop today, you can buy one, get one free select Valspar and HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams one-coat coverage interior paints via rebate. Shop these deals in-store or online today at Lowe's. We help, you save. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details. Offer valid 8/21 through 9/3.
And we're back. Let's move on to journaling, or junk journaling, as it is often called. And its very open-endedness feels very 2025 over time, that there's like no right or wrong way. But so if there is no right or wrong way to do it, but there also seem to be some general parameters. Like I pick up this pouch and you show 20 journal layouts. So
yes.
It's inspiring. It's not like a right or wrong, but there has to be some sort of general ground rules to the domain.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. So I think what you're mentioning something like attention, right? Like on some ways, and I think this tension is mirrored both in journaling and in zines. I might talk about them separately, actually.
Yeah,
but,
that's fine.
So
that's fine. However, I feel like since you junk journal and you do a zine, like you're very much thinking in terms of, I don't know, you're clearly a very visual person, but like they are different.
Yeah, different and I think inspire each other. I'm certainly inspired. Like when I make zines, I'm inspired by journals. When I journal, I'm inspired by zines. And so I think with journals, the open-endedness can sometimes also be intimidating, right? It's like that blank page, literal blank page syndrome. You see something blank.
Totally.
Right. What do you do? How do you even approach journaling?
I've said for my entire journalism career, there is nothing more intimidating than a blank page.
Exactly. And so I think what a lot of journalers do, it's not so much that I think as a culture, there is no right way to do it. But typically, a journaler has an intention with their journal. Maybe they have 5 journals. Yes, they have, maybe they even have 5 journals. Each one has a different intention. So there's actually, I'm not sure if your listener, maybe you've talked about this in your podcast extensively or not, but are you familiar with like the techo kaigi? Like, okay.
So I should be.
Well. Okay, this is exciting news to talk through. So there's something called in Japan, especially, it's a Japanese term called techo kaigi, which is like, I believe it's translated to mean something like a meeting with yourself. It's where you're reviewing your journaling system to see what's working for you and what's not. So again, like it just speaks to the culture of like, even if globally, universally, there's no right way, within yourself, there's something you're trying to get out of journaling. And so maybe that is, and it could be, again, different per person. Maybe you have a gratitude journal. And so the intention of that is to show up every day with gratitude to like, and so in your techo kaigi, maybe it's like, gee, I meant to write something in my gratitude journal every day and I stopped doing it after 3 days. Let's like reflect on that and see like, why was it that, what got in the way? Or maybe you did that for a year and you actually did it every day. You found it really fulfilling and wonderful and beautiful. And you're just thinking like, all right, maybe next year I want to try, I just did a sentence a day. Maybe I'll do 3 sentences. Maybe I'll add a photo a day. Anyway, so I think like the rules, I think one of the things that's exciting about journaling is it's not that there's no rules, it's that you make the rules. You get to make the rules and you're building systems for yourself to support yourself. It's very high agency of like deciding, like it's based in reflection, even on the meta layer of like, why are you even journaling?
Yeah, like what are you trying to accomplish?
Yes,
here?
exactly. Exactly. And I think that's sort of like that loop of, all right, new journal, blank journal, a new, every possibility is available to me. Let me think of what I want to try. How do I want to use this? Then the like sort of act of actually journaling, and then the reflection on the meta process at the end of through a techo kaigi or through some other thing of just seeing like, how is this going? How am I liking this journal? How am I liking the system? again, check in with yourself. Are you enjoying that? Is that how you want to be spending your time? Are you getting something out of it? Like, I think that is, if no right way to do it for sure. But if there's anything I would suggest, it would be to reflect and ensure that your systems are serving you.
I love that. And and clearly, your journaling will evolve over time. And like maybe you go on like a big rubber stamp kick, or I'm going crazy with sticker books.
Absolutely. Exactly. And I think adding on to that too, it's like, if you do this lifelong, you're going to have different phases. I know people who, a few of my friends just had babies. And so that both means like the way that they're journaling may involve, some of it's more, utility. Like they're tracking like feeding time, they're tracking like sleeping times, things like that. Also, new baby, that means like you've got other priorities and maybe you don't have quite as much time to journal the way that you did pre-baby. And I think that's what's nice about like this, the flexibility of a notebook is it can adapt with you too, like based on whether you said like interests change, life changes. This is something that really you can create what it is.
I love that. So, when I went through your publication, I mean, like I saw journals devoted to travel, food, diary, and memory keeping, practicing art techniques, rubber stamps, stencils. Sometimes people use dated planners. Sometimes they use more open-ended journals. Of course, the Traveler's Journal is like a whole thing in and of itself.
Yes.
And like this all seems to be happening. So clearly, this is a small analog movement building to document our lives on a bigger level. Like, why do you think this is happening?
Yeah. Again, I could speak at length about things I think. So one aspect I would say is, I think in some ways, though, this has always existed. Like as I make pouch, actually, this is something that was somewhat surprising to me when I just started my journey with making pouch, was I just started talking to more people about like, hey, I'm doing this journaling thing. And I was surprised by, especially women, how many women I would meet, how frequently they would say either, yeah, I journal too, or, I don't journal, but I keep my to-do list, or, I keep my calendars, like, because when I look back at my calendar, I can like remember, oh yeah, I had lunch with a friend on this, like, and so I think there's been a long tradition of women being sort of the historians for their family.
I love that.
Yeah, like, I think a desire to, again, stay in a moment, to document different phases of your life, your family's life, your friend's life. And I think, of course, in the backdrop of today, with all of things like social media, your friends, like this demands on your attention, these pulls to make you have to go faster, to make you have to do more things. I think there's a real desire to actually step away from that and to feel like, hey, let me slow down. Hey, actually, I don't want to be pulled in a million directions on my phone. I want to have a moment away from my computer, away from my phone, any screen, and I just want to be alone with my thoughts and my feelings. I want to be reflecting, or even, maybe you want to be with people, maybe you want to hang out with other journalers, other friends, and like do this communally. You don't want to be, again, connected to a screen with your focus, really divided. And so I think that's like, especially again, in this moment, I think there's such an attraction that comes with the physicality of notebooks, and also how single, multi-purpose, but compared to like, again, a computer, a phone, a browser, single purpose that analog notebooks provide.
Sure. One thing that really struck me, I did not send you this question and I apologize.
Yes.
It's really been coming. I've been thinking about it and it's come up in my conversation. I'm trying to find the verbiage, but you say on your, like in your editor's to do, you say, here you go. One of your goals, you have 3 directives in your letter that you're trying to do, which I love. I love a good mission statement.
Yes.
And of course, the first one is to, provide a non-digital forum for people to engage on this topic. But I love that you said to enable journaling fans to share our craft with others without needing to have a big social media presence. I mean, like I go on TikTok and, I'll see one junk journal, like carousel group video where a person's showing spreads that might have 2 likes. I see another journal, very similar. I got 25,000 likes. Then there's apparently like all this stuff going on where people are sending each other like free stuff, but it's turning into problems because you're sending one person bad stuff and another, like it's just turned into this whole thing. So I want to ask you about the value of creating a forum apart from social media, because while it's a beautiful way to kind of share the artistry, it seems to sort of be like falling into a lot of the pitfalls that we see happening in other social media communities.
Yes, absolutely. And again, I mentioned at the start of this, like part of what attracts me to this space is the problem-solving capabilities of paper. A lot of what's considered a limitation, I think, is actually an advantage. So the fact that Pouch can only fit so many journals, like literally the printer that I'm using for a booklet, like style binding zine like this, I'm at the max page limit.
Wow. I was going to say, zines have come so far from when I would buy them in the 90s and they were like Xerox stapled together. Like this is a beautiful
Thank you. Yes,
and
yes.
I really enjoyed nerding out over, and because I got it, and then I had asked you to be on, and then I was like, well, you got to give me a while to read it and think about it.
Yes.
It's just like it takes a while to get your arms around.
Yeah, and I think like so like the fact that this is actually published only once a year, only quote unquote has 60 pages. I think it means like for one, you can actually read it and feel caught up. Like when's the last time you felt caught up on your Instagram feed? Like never, right? You're never caught up.
There is this sense in modern life that you're never going to catch up.
Absolutely. Yes. And so I think like, again, with the fact that analog means you have to make a decision on literally, this book has a final page. That's one. Another, again, is like the beauty of a magazine. The beauty of a magazine means the magazine can take the responsibility for having to advertise, having to get your name out there, having to I will shoulder the responsibility of, let me make sure that people know what Pouch is. Let me have a social media presence. That frees my readers if they want to share a page of their journal and they don't want to also have to manage a social media account. One of the contributors, Dawn, she doesn't have a social media account. She and she has a beautiful layout that I'm glad we're able to share with readers of Pouch. I also think that makes it more interesting of if we're able, one of my goals with Pouch is to, and I respect and appreciate and love the big social media accounts that have beautiful journals. And I had more of that in issue 1, but in issue 2 and beyond, I really want to highlight people you might not come up on your feed. That might not be at the top of the algorithm. I think it's a fun way to stay connected without. Yeah,
and I'm just very nosy. I like looking into people's private worlds that you just don't get a chance to see.
Absolutely,
and you understand them as a person in a different way. It's a lot of fun. I liked how you divided your layout, your layout galleries, you divided it with other editorial and you got to the most complicated layouts towards the end. And it just really blew my mind. I love the way you just sort of build through it. Yeah. When you did, you get into the specialty journals. There was one where 2 people were doing a planner together.
Isn't that brilliant?
Thank you so much again, Victoria. I've so enjoyed getting acquainted and our conversation thus far, to say nothing of going behind the scenes with Pouch. Thank you for creating a community for paper nerds in the wild. Clearly, it is very needed. Finally, thank you for listening and for listening this far. Of course, feel free to give me a 5-star rating and review if you are so inclined. It will help new paper nerds find us. The Paperfold is proud to be a member of the Evergreen Podcast Network. To learn more about this dynamic, incredible community, community, please visit evergreenpodcast.com. Thank you so much, nerds, and please stay safe out there.